I'm delighted to be joined by co-founder and CEO of Afterpay, Nick Molnar, who's going to share his insights into how buy now, pay later solutions can be incorporated into physical retail strategies, as well as how retailers can use consumer data to inform omni-channel strategies and drive conversions and sales. Nick, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
With 15 million active customers globally across North America, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and a number of other geographies, Afterpay is in a strong position to share insights on how customer data can be used by the fashion industry to infer shopping patterns and consumer behavior. Nick, you've previously said that there was no reason why physical retail can't be Afterpay's fastest growth channel for the next couple of years, and that there's a lot of opportunity in how different retailers can operate buy now, pay later products in the physical world. Can we kick off by you giving us some insight onto what growth opportunities are available to retailers if they incorporate buy now, pay later solutions into their physical retail network?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we've been investing in physical retail for, quite a number of years now. In our first market of Australia, offline retail represents 25% of our total volume. So, leveraging the physical channel to really drive growth, especially at this time, is just incredibly important for retailers. What we've seen, as the market slowly comes out of the pandemic or sees stores reopen, it's still by far and large the greatest investment, asset that all retail has on their balance sheet and in their profit and loss statement. And so how we can support driving foot traffic back into store and help, reinvigorate the retail economy as the world reopens is, absolutely our focus. Contactless payments is, totally critical to that. And you would expect that millennial and Gen Z consumers, understand contactless payments, but about a third of our customers had never used contactless payments before Afterpay. So, there are a lot of great, components to how our product is rolled out. And to be able to leverage this next generation consumer who, is really taking the world by storm as they reopen and start to visit retail again. It's an amazing opportunity for retailers to see that in motion.
Before we talk about how the in-store shopping experience has changed, could you perhaps go into a little bit more detail as to how you're experimenting with closing that loop and actually driving footfall back into stores?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have our app. Our app is sending over 1 million leads per day to our retail partners. So, we're sending about as much traffic as social media platforms are to our partners. And so for them to look at us as a customer acquisition channel for that next generation consumer is core to our value proposition. So when we go live with a retailer, we can leverage location-based push notifications. Our consumers come to our app to actually browse what physical stores within their area accept Afterpay. And so, we're able to lean in and really drive foot traffic into the physical world. And it's very unique in terms of a, payment product to be able to drive meaningful traffic and new to file consumers to retailers. But it's critical to our business case and what our partners have seen.
We're now, well over a year and a half into a global pandemic, and consumers' shopping habits have been, significantly shifted by that pandemic. Can you tell us how their expectations have shifted with what they expect to see in store? What your data or what your insights team can share on the changes to customer expectations around the physical store experience?
Yeah. I mean, look, we're really fortunate, as you mentioned earlier, that we function in a variety of different countries that are all in different stages of the pandemic. So, if you take Australia as an example, where shops have been open for about 6 months now, you've seen, obviously online retail grew very quickly, but as stores began to reopen, it very much layered volume into the retail channel on top. So you're seeing retail, firstly, as a share of total spend grow meaningfully as physical retail begins to reopen. But the way that consumers are shopping in store has definitely changed. Foot traffic is down, but conversion rates are significantly up, and top line for many of our retail partners is actually seen, very significant, pre-COVID year-on-year growth. So what you're seeing is even little things like, when do you roster staff on? how do you cater for this, new wave of shopping that is different, that consumers are, now engaging in retail at different moments in time and are seeing a far different sense of engagement with that store rep when they get in there as they move in and then exit the store reasonably quickly. How we can play a role in helping retailers, roster, manage demand and really forecast, just given what we see around the world. It's really exciting for us to be able to help in that way and show physical retail make its comeback.
Just to pick up on the point that you made just a moment earlier, that Afterpay is in a position where it has a global business with different regions that are at different stages of dealing with the pandemic. Are there any insights you can share with perhaps geographies that are entering into a retail recovery right now, or a loosening of lockdown rules that Australian retailers have perhaps learned, or anything that you can share for those slightly later in their pandemic journey?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's gone through waves. In the early days of the reopening, we saw a lot of out of mall shopping, and particularly led by millennial and Gen Z consumers that were kind of engaging in this form of non-shopping center transaction, but we've seen shopping centers come back in a really meaningful way, to the point where we've started investing in our partnerships in the US with, Simon Property Group, Westfield, and others. So, there's a huge opportunity for retailers just to think about how, this consumer is coming in very well researched. In a lot of instances, they're well aware of what they want to buy. They want the assistance of the store rep to, help personalize that experience to them, but they're in the mindset of shopping when they walk through that door. And you're seeing conversion rates that have never been seen before when someone enters a physical retail shop. And so the demand, I think, took everyone off guard. The hours of shopping took everyone off guard. And the comeback of malls far quicker than anyone anticipated. So, we thought that travel and hospitality would pretty quickly resume its share of wallet that it had pre-pandemic. But, I can safely say that didn't happen, and it hasn't happened to date. And you've seen retail really layer on top of what online consumed, and you're just seeing very meaningful growth. I mean, I had a retailer say to me the other day that, stores aren't yet back to what they were previously. They're double what they used to be. And so, you're seeing a lot of intent and a lot of great consumer demand. I mean, there's the most pent-up savings that we've seen in the economy in a huge window of time, and retail is in a great spot to capture that.
We've just been discussing some of the opportunities like pent-up demand that retail has ahead of it, but their retail is operating in a very disrupted landscape in fresh ground. What do you perceive to be some of the challenges facing retailers today? And as a result of those challenges, how do you believe retailers should utilize data to guide and inform their omni-channel strategies, to take learnings from physical stores and apply them in their social commerce or m-commerce? What would be your advice in navigating some of the challenges ahead?
I mean, look, from our perspective, we're, resolutely focused on the next generation consumer, more particularly, the millennial and Gen Z cohort. What we recognize just as a bias towards Afterpay was that millennial and Gen Z customers were shopping on a debit card, not a credit card. Outstanding credit card balances are now at the lowest levels since the 80s. And when our retailers kind of looked at their customer base and forecasted forward and said, millennial and Gen Z today represent 30% of all spend or 25% of all spend in the economy, but fast forward 7 years, they're going to earn half of all discretionary income. Like, what does that translate in terms of share of retail, and how does that transpire? And so you're seeing very conscious customer acquisition strategies towards this next generation consumer, of which, given this customer prefers a debit card over a credit card, Afterpay plays a very critical role. It's why our consumers start their shopping journey with the app, and while we can actually be a channel for that partner. But there's such tremendous opportunity for retailers to lean into partners like us to extract data that can help them, trade their business every day. And, we just feel privileged that we can be in a position to be of help in that regard.
Is there any specific advice you have in you giving retailers or providing retailers with a single customer view so they can really monitor particular trends and take advantage of them?
Yeah, I mean that omni-channel customer, understanding when a consumer is truly browsing online and then buying in store, how we can close the loop for a retailer, it's table stakes now. It has to be understood to be able to build the attribution models that can properly, quantify what how online is impacting offline and how offline is impacting online. And given, we have 3.5 million, Afterpay cards just in the US market alone, it provides us a really great opportunity to be able to close the loop. And as a retailer, I would be looking for partners that can just keep providing that clarity of channel, because it's blurring, and we've been speaking about this for years, but it's only going to get more particular post pandemic world. And I just think now's the time.
Nick, thank you so much for sharing your insights with the Retail Summit community today and the wider BF community. That was fantastic. I certainly learned a lot, so I'm sure our community did. And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Robin.